Please join me for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge
allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Hey, this is Cherry. Can you do roll call?
Erica Connor?
Here.
Mary G. Moore?
Excused.
Joel Fredericks?
Here.
Andy Mankey?
Here.
Art Schneider?
Excused.
Greg Verts?
Excused.
Jeff Vogel?
Any minute.
Jill Warner?
Here.
Terry Winchowski here.
All right, this is an open meeting and has been noticed as such. We will start with citizens' comments. We have Mitzi Roszewski. Okay.
Good evening, and thank you so much for the opportunity to address you. I am not a resident of your school district. I live off of Sprague Road, and I chose, that's a second home that my husband and I built within the Palmyra Eagle Schools, right off of Sprague Road, right on the border of your school district. We chose to build in our second home in that school district because we thought it was the best educational opportunity for our 3 children. I was a 4-H leader. All 3 kids were involved in FFA and agriculture. All 3 will graduate from UW-Madison debt-free. The youngest in 3.5 years with 2 degrees from UW-Madison. He has a job offer with a Fortune 200 company that he'll start in January, more than the majority of the town of Eagle residents make. At 21, he's considering purchasing his first house. He's making a very educated decision about what school district he wants to purchase his home in. He thinks it's important to know the value of where his taxes are going, just as his mom and dad made a choice of where our taxes were going. Now I understand there are people here who made a choice to live in the same school district, and under state law they had the opportunity to open enroll to your school district, as a few did to Whitewater, although more kids come in from Whitewater School District than leave Palmyra Eagle School District. It's not the case with McGuanago and Palmyra Eagle. You have very many flashy things that we don't have, but what you lack is small class sizes, agricultural programs, equal representation on a school board. Where I live, almost half of my board members live in my community. You wouldn't. That's not equal representation. I can go in and talk to my representatives and have an impact, and I'm sure you are great people, and you're willing to listen to me at this point. But I understand also that you have monetary considerations. I also know that through open enrollment, you don't have to provide busing to your students. You don't have to take our special ed population. You are in a win-win situation. I don't understand why you would want to remove the choice from families like myself who chose a smaller school district, who wanted that type of education for our families. No family should be left without that choice. I understand some people say it's academically not as challenging. 3 children, 3 all went to UW-Madison. I'm sorry if I'm going over. 3 highly successful children. 1 a doctorate of pharmacy, doing a residency. 1 a master's program at Michigan State in her the 2nd ranked internationally program. And I told you about the 3rd. It's not an academically failing school district. It has the potential to be financially solvent. It just reported last week that they were under budget and added to their fund balance. Please don't be swayed by things that others have told you. If people are willing to roll up their sleeves and dig in, it can be an appropriate choice for families such as mine, and the families that you have in your school district, such as Big Bend, can have the small class sizes if you take those funds that you get through open enrollment and don't have to pay for bus routes. Thank you for your time. I appreciate it.
Thank you. All right, moving along to presentations, we have our student rep report.
Good evening, everyone. I'm Shannon, and I will start with the report from McWanago High School. So, Mrs. Julie Hanisch at MHS is excited to share that the MHS Drama Club partnered with the McWanago Rotary Club in mid-October to support the annual community Jack-o'-lantern jaunt. Additionally, on Halloween night, the MHS Drama Club will open their production of the play Night of the Living Dead, which is an all black and white stage adaptation of the famous 1968 zombie movie classic. The show runs October 31st, November 1st, and November 2nd, so tickets for the fall play are on sale now on your district website. The MHS boys soccer program on September 26th hosted the largest youth night game. Youth in the area played 2 small games during halftime, so it was well attended and they are very happy about that. The MHS History Club commemorated the anniversary of 9/11 attacks by placing large posters in the main windows of the PAC to commemorate the victims of that day. MHS International Club has welcomed 9 exchange students from Denmark, Germany, Italy, Kuwait, Turkey, and Vietnam. The international students learned a lot about American tradition through the MHS homecoming. The Global Certificate Program has had a very busy start to the school year. There are 20 new signups this year, so there's a record high of 68 students in this program. The Rotary Club of McWanago has also pledged a $1,000 scholarship for a student who graduates with the Global Certificate. On October 2nd, students stayed after school to participate in the second German forum discussion, where 40 MHS students sat in groups with German students and discussed questions about education, politics, and culture. Nearly 50 students from the Global Certificate Program and International Club are using their flex time once a month to participate in a pen pal program with Albanian students. So those students can practice their English and our students can learn more about Albanian culture.
Hi, I'm Emily Glusik, and this is the report from the Parkview Middle School. On October 3rd, Parkview Middle School was also able to have 15 exchange students from Germany come in to talk to different classrooms. They talked about the German school system, their family life, and other aspects of German culture. The Parkview World Language Department believes that it's exactly these types of experiences that turn McWanago students onto learning a world language and interfacing with other countries and cultures. Along with that, Parkview Cross Country had a great season, having 70 athletes participate this fall. They also hosted a 15-school invite, as well as placing high in many other invites throughout the season. Parkview student government is also off to a strong start with 116 members. They've already ran multiple activities throughout the course of this year. They already did a change collection for childhood cancers, raising $1,681. They've also started a new program called for Heavenly Hats, which they can wear hats on every Wednesday. Students and staff pay $1 in order to wear these hats in October, and over 150 hats have been worn at Parkview to raise money. This year, Parkview is also doing an event called Parkview in the Dark. It is for the community's youth of 10 and under, and it's a free trick-or-treating for our school district communities, and it'll be hosted on October 30th from 6:30 to 7:30. Parkview Middle School's boys basketball and wrestling also already had their sign-up in their PE classes this week. Along with this, House 1 students in Parkview were able to go on a local field trip through a program called Project Reality. It is a collaborative project between PVMS staff and local businesses to provide students with real-world job skills and knowledge about personal finance. Also, in Mr. Weil's art class, there's a guest speaker, Jim Schmid, who trained for special effects art, specializing in character design and development. He was able to share his art and techniques with all the students. Also, students in exploring business, marketing, and entrepreneurship classes were able to donate and carve pumpkins for the Jack-o'-lantern jaunt. Lastly, PVMS is having their musical, Lion King Jr., and the pamphlet is below that has all the information for the show.
For Big Bend Elementary School, they would like to share a few events coming up that all community members can take advantage of. The first one, the nearest to us, would be December 28th on Saturday for an Admirals game. And there's also a Big Bend Elementary School Day at the Bucks game, which is Sunday, February 2nd at 1 p.m. Addition to that, Mrs. Holly Soto has been selected as the McWanago Area School District Rotary Employee of the Month for October. Holly is a special education assistant at Big Bend Elementary School, responsible for working with our youngest students with special needs. Mrs. Soto is in her 35th year in education, has successfully held her position at Guthrie and Big Bend Elementary since earning her child care certification at WCTI. So Holly is very deserving of this honor.
Clarendon Elementary School has also had quite a few activities going on. They had their first annual Pink Out Day to support breast cancer awareness, as well as having their Fire Prevention Week, which included a presentation and also fire trucks for the kids to see. They also had a successful grandparent lunch week with over 500 grandparents attending. Also, the third graders participated in the jack-o'-lantern jaunt as well, and they carved around 35 pumpkins to donate.
Eagleville Elementary School celebrated its 170th birthday on September 23, 2018, where they gathered in the gym to appreciate the wealth of history within their building and community for their annual Heritage Day celebration. This celebration included speakers like Mrs. Jenny Meyer, who attended Eagleville in the 1980s. On Friday, September 17th, they had a safety drill with the help of the Waukesha County Sheriff Department and Officer Joe Pettit, our Parkview resource officer. Along with this, Eagleville put on another successful walkathon on Friday, September 27th, where all students walked hundreds of collective miles for their PTO's biggest fundraiser. They are also continuing to reinforce the Eagleville PBIS guidelines at school and were able to have their first all-school incentive of an afternoon nature day on Wednesday, October 2nd. They also had their October assembly on Monday, October 7th to talk about their new school challenge and their new monthly focus, which is responsibility. Then the Eagleville Fire Department came out to talk about fire safety. Also, next week, Eagleville has Grandparent Lunch Week and the Book Fair, and they hope that many people turn out for that event.
Prairie View Elementary School is in their second year of running their 3D Design Club. Kids in the 3D Design Club explore CAD design with a program called Tinkercad. This software can be used to design projects that they then can print on actual 3D printers. Recently, they had a project where they could design 3D jack-o'-lanterns. Also, students used the skills that they learned in the first 2 weeks to design 3D functional items. They were told to try to pick a problem that they faced in their everyday life and design a solution to solve that problem. There's been so much interest in this club that they have hit their capacity in one day, and they have a waiting list of 25 students that are interested in upcoming sessions. Also, Prairie View hosted their second annual Family Math Night on October 16th. The primary focus of Math Night was to get parents and kids actively engaged in fun, creative, and unique standard-based math activities.
And finally, with Rolling Hills Elementary School, staff would like to recognize and thank all of the district volunteers that helped make the night with the Harlem Wizards a great success. Mr. Schlicht would personally like to thank the Rolling Hills PTO for their hours of preparation and dedication to planning this wonderful event. The Rolling Hills PTO has unanimously voted to host this event again next year, and they want to again thank all of those who helped out. Rolling Hills also had a very successful Grandparent Lunch Week. They served an additional 599 visitor lunches this week. Special thanks to their kitchen staff as well as their PTO volunteers during the Scholastic Book Fair also going on at the same time. They want to say thank you to the Village of McWanago Fire Department for their presentations during Fire Prevention Week. And during their October Data Day, teachers reviewed their baseline testing data to determine intervention groups in both literacy and mathematics. Finally, thank you to all the parents for joining Rolling Hills at parent-teacher conferences. They want to make sure they continue to foster the partnership and education every chance they can get. Thank you.
Thank you, ladies. And now presentation from the MHS Healthcare Academy. This is on page 57 of the packet.
All right, good evening, everybody. Thanks for having us tonight. It is my privilege to introduce Christy Peterson and Emily Stewart here to talk about our healthcare academy that we are looking to implement going into the 2021 school year. This is about a year in the making. Last year around this time, we toured multiple schools that had current healthcare academies to get ideas and to also piggyback off our very successful IT academy. And Christy, Emily, and then Stephanie Casey were very influential in making this really become a reality over this last, I would say, 8 to 10 months. So without further ado, Emily and Christy are going to kind of give you a snapshot of what the Healthcare Academy will look like. And this is kind of this is like a one-stop shop, and this is a presentation that would go to parents, students, local businesses as well.
Okay, hi, I'm Christy Peterson. I'm one of the healthcare teachers at McWanago High School. And I'm Emily Stewart, also one of the healthcare teachers at McWanago High School.
Can you make sure you talk into the microphone?
Sure, I can do that. So we were kind of excited last year we went out and toured different high school programs, including Menominee, South, and really started diving into this process. We met with the IT Academy and really mimicked what they had done and the work they had done. So why choose an academy model? Really, I think I'm just gonna focus on the two little pieces in the center, opportunities and preparation. We are here to prepare kids for college and career. That is really our passion, our job. And giving them opportunities to be outside of the classroom for experiential learning in regards to being in a healthcare related setting. We've kind of come up with these 5 kind of guiding principles through the work of meeting with the other high schools, through our research, through our philosophies. And we've come up with some kind of guiding principles. These aren't really objectives that are going to be taught in the classroom. These aren't part of curriculum, but they are developed in the student throughout the 3+ years that we would have them, through in the classroom time, through their experiential learning, through their reading, research, and extracurricular activities. We are going to guide them in looking at patient care, ethics, how research and technology influences healthcare, significance of communication. So we are looking at more of an all-encompassing person rather than just a curriculum. So last year, Emily, Stephanie, and I really took a lot of time and focus on creating this mission and vision. The mission is what is the Healthcare Academy doing, and then the vision is really how it's going to happen. So we are striving to integrate academics, creating a firm foundation for these careers in healthcare. And how we're going to do that is through rigorous coursework, career-based experiences, and exposing them to these opportunities that are really in our backyard. I mean, we have such amazing things right here in McWanago, and we want to take advantage of that.
So looking at what we wanted to achieve and thinking about all of that, we had 3 main areas, like Christy had mentioned. So starting at the top middle there, we have 6 healthcare credits, which would be a part of our core curriculum. We wanted to incorporate those extracurriculars, the healthcare reading and research, all kind of funneling down into that senior portfolio or capstone experience. And then through all of those 4, that would give the student the Healthcare Academy certificate. So looking at the core curriculum up there and those 6 healthcare credits, we really wanted to kind of go through each year. And as you can see, we have our sophomore, junior, and senior year up there with a lot of flexibility. So we have those optional courses down there for junior and senior year. Our hope is that all of the staff members that are involved within the Healthcare Academy will be advisors for the students and essentially mentor them based off of what their future goals are, what they want to do for their future healthcare career. And then through that, we can kind of suggest some of those optional courses and just make sure that they're on the right path. Looking at some of those extracurricular and research and reading requirements, we felt it was really important to get the students involved in volunteer hours. So you can see that's something that the student will be doing each year while they're within the Healthcare Academy. We also felt that being involved in any type of extracurricular activity or club was important, as well as junior, senior year, getting them involved in a job shadow. And then we also have up there one healthcare related book off of the Healthcare Academy book list. So those would be like pre-approved books that they could even read within one of their English classes. So then we have our senior portfolio. So all of that just leads to senior year, and one of the most important things that we had talked about is getting those students healthcare setting experience. So whether that be work-based, which would be the youth apprenticeship program, whether that be an apprenticeship or whether that be an internship, just some sort of experience. So we were hoping that the students would be able to complete both options, be a youth apprenticeship as well as completing their capstone. So we understand that the first few years of the Healthcare Academy, we might not have every single student involved in that capstone just because the capstone is very sophomore year, junior year, senior year. So it's really leading up to their senior year, but we still want to get them involved in the research, the problem solving, and then that presentation to the staff and the community members.
So all of that being said, that really leads us into the pieces of making this successful. And it really just mimics what IT's done, taking students, teachers, involving them in their community. Currently, we have a lot of community support. This is just some of the people that we partner with for youth apprenticeship, as well as job shadows. They come in for us and speak in our classrooms, as well as our students going out to their facilities.
So like Dustin mentioned earlier, this is just two of us teachers on the Healthcare Academy team. So Stephanie Casey has been an integral part of helping us develop everything that we've just presented to you. We also have Sabina and Mark, who are brand new to Mugwanago High School this year. And Dustin's also, we've really collaborated with Dustin a lot and bounced ideas off of him. So once again, we've put a lot of work into what we've come up with thus far.
And again, just kind of focusing, the very last bullet on this slide just says it's looking for a variety of post-secondary options. So this is not, and I reiterate this all the time to my coworkers, this is not just for our four-year college kid. This is for a two-year college kid, for even a certificate program. It would be for all students, not just high-achieving students. And really, you can show them the last slide. The very last slide is really just kind of next steps for students. We wrote this presentation really to be an all-encompassing presentation that if you have questions later on, it probably has the answers. Even though we didn't go through it in tons of detail, we wrote it to be all-encompassing, that it can be given to parents, community members, staff, students. So it should have the majority of the answers. Thanks for hearing us.
The last thing I'd like to add is that this is one of our next steps to achieving one of our strategic goals of college and career readiness, that many of the students that will go through this program will be earning industry recognized certifications, whether that be through CNA or through the youth apprenticeship model. So in our goal of 50% of our students graduating with the industry recognized certification, this is another step to help make that happen.
Thank you guys for being here.
Thanks, guys.
All right, we will move on to consent agenda. We have approval of board minutes of September 30th, 2019, as well as approval of voucher numbers 124648 to 125185 in the amount of 3.3 million and change, and receipts for September 2019 totaling another 3.3 million and change. We also have Parkview Middle School Concordia Language Village in Bemidji, Minnesota. Do I have any questions or concerns? Hearing none, it is approved by consent. And we will jump into Student Learning Committee update.
Well, when we met, what part of our discussion was on this new academy, so they came. And then we were looking at, what else were we looking at?
We also took a look at field trips that were just, that you just approved, and policies that we're going to be voting on under action plans. We have a few policies that we've been spending 2 months on that we're going to recommend that the board approve.
We passed them
after
to the next
looking at 'em.
meeting because our meeting got
Correct.
a little longer.
Yep.
So we had that other field trip, are we discussing that at this time, or you know the one I'm?
It is in the packet.
I don't know, because that would be the only controversial thing that we kind of had.
Well, under overnight field trips, yeah,
Yep.
we could talk
Yep.
about that.
So I can speak to that a little bit.
Okay.
Or Stephanie, if you want to go ahead.
So we do have a field trip that we brought to the Student Learning Committee. We have a Spanish teacher at the high school, Craig Hulsman, who is looking at doing a non-sponsored school board trip to Cuba with a group of students. And we do have a board policy that talks about non-sponsored field trips, but he did want he did want the board and us to know and do early communication about that trip, and would like to go ahead and look at that for some of our students.
Curious why I wasn't able to attend the meeting. By non-sponsored, what does that mean?
I want to make sure I'm doing this right, so Sean, will you?
Sure. Thanks, Stephanie.
Yeah, no problem.
So if you take a look at policy 2340, that's our field trip policy. And any overnight field trip has to be approved by the school board. And so you're all familiar with that process, and that's with the Bemidji, Minnesota trip for the Spanish kids at the middle school. And we also send our German kids there. So that's a trip that has the advisor brings to the Student Learning Committee and then to the full board, and you guys approve that overnight trip. The district then and the advisors have responsibility for everything that happens on that trip. And so we need to make sure that we have proper supervision, transportation, that it's related to our curriculum, et cetera. So we are approving that trip, and we are liable for things that happen on that trip. A non-district sponsored field trip is really, we're giving you that information for your information only. And that staff member who is organizing that field trip takes all the responsibility on himself or herself. And so the board doesn't approve that trip. What we do is we monitor the information that the advisor or teacher or staff member shares with the parents to make sure that the parents and students know that it's not a district-sponsored trip. And we've had those before. You probably don't remember them because it's rare, but we don't take any responsibility for it. So if you'd like, we can bring policy 2340 later in the agenda. We're going to be talking about the board process for reviewing policies again. And in the 2000s programs, I'm assuming that will be the Student Learning Committee, so they'll be going through that policy. Does that answer your question, Jeff?
Yeah.
Any other questions on the Learning Committee update? Great. Personnel Committee update.
Under the Personnel Committee, we talked about teacher review and compensation plans, and the superintendent review evaluation, and we pushed those to next meeting because there was further discussion in regards to both. Sean's going to bring review options back to us, and Susan was working on the teacher evaluation packet.
Did you have anything to add? No? That sums it up? Okay, any questions about personnel? All right, finance and facilities update. Well, Mary left. Okay, so, there are transportation appeals. You guys missed out. Okay, so we have plans in the packet for the MHS softball, baseball concessions, and press box project. Andy Wagner was here to show us and talk us through that, as well as Kurt. I don't know if you guys got a chance to take a picture or take a look at those. Hi, Andy. Andy's here tonight. Do you guys have any questions for Andy? Do you have anything you want to share briefly on it?
I'm here to give information if needed, otherwise it's in your court.
No? Okay, I think one thing that was interesting to note was there was discussion of having bathrooms or not bathrooms. The baseball programs kind of weighed in on that and kind of came to an agreement to.
Yeah, the
kind of
baseball
collaborate.
programs have put some money forward from their own organizations as well to put towards the bathrooms to help get that project going. And so we presented that to the committee last week, and unanimously you guys voted for it to move forward.
We don't have that listed as a action item, and that's my mistake there. We should have that listed there. We were looking for permission from the board to proceed with this project so we can sign the contracts and get everything online here. So the students in Dustin's class can participate, and he can begin to plan on that project for his students.
And can we add that to our action items right now?
No, but we can, can't do that.
Oh.
But we can proceed with the project if no one has questions or concerns, then we'll get it approved on the next month's agenda.
Any questions, concerns?
No, we already reviewed it, didn't we?
Right, we've reviewed this a couple of times, right? I don't anticipate any
It came
concerns.
back with, yeah. Well, is it going out to bid? That's what would happen after approval.
Yeah, we will be putting everything out to bid from this, but with your permission, we'll move forward. We have a meeting scheduled with the village to start the process with them as well.
All right, the last thing, the alcohol and drug prevention review. We talked about it just briefly. I think it's something we're gonna come back to later. It was in regard to whether or not we wanna put an exception in that policy about drug and alcohol, primarily alcohol, purchases on the grounds if it's not a district activity, such as balloons over McGuanago. So we will come back to that at another time. Okay, moving into action items. Appointments, resignations, and retirements.
We have one hire to recommend to you, and that is for Margaret Cleary, who is a Title I teacher, .29 FTE limited term. We had some additional Title I funds that we could use for Clarendon, so we're recommending Margaret for hire. She has extensive experience in reading intervention and has her reading specialist license and her reading teacher license. And she was most recently employed in Waukesha School District. She has about 19 years of experience and is specifically looking for a part-time position. So recommend her hire.
Do you have a motion?
Motion.
Second. I have a motion and a second. Any other discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? All right. Policy updates, update approvals, 5111. That's resident to non-resident students. We have 5512, use of tobacco by students, and then 5516, student hazing. They're all in your packet. The only one that I think was worth kind of mentioning was, it came before the personnel committee, was 5516, the hazing policy. What was being changed by Neola, I say it wrong every time, was that it is no longer legally required to be disseminated. to the district, and we as a personnel committee thought it was important that we continue.
Student Learning Committee.
What did I say? You said
Personnel.
personnel. Thank you.
But we knew what you meant.
Thanks for jumping in. No, student learning. We felt it important to continue passing it out and disseminating it to parents. We just wanted to kind of make sure that we're showing what we value, and so that's really the big change in these three. And it's not even a change to the policy, it's just whether or not we hand it out. Does that sound right?
That's correct.
So we are looking to approve those three policies.
I'll make a motion.
Motion and second. Any other questions? Okay, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? Okay. 2019-20 budget and tax levy.
We were moving along really well. Going to come to a screeching halt now.
Until now.
Okay, so I'll begin here with our final budget and tax levy here for everyone here. So we're looking to have two motions with your support tonight, one to approve the tax levy and mill rate, and one to approve the final budget. So we'll walk through this math one last time, and we'll do this all again at this time next year. But step one is we're going to calculate state equalization aid and other small forms of state aid there in step one. Step two is we'll calculate our entire revenue limit. That's multiplying $9,700 times the number of students we have. And that represents the amount of money we can receive between state aid and taxes. And then once we know those two things, we can back into step three, which is our property tax. Okay? So looking back at last year, we had $47.9 million in shared costs. Our equalization aid came out to be $21.263 million. That is, we did a transfer of $1.75 million to put money aside for buildings. That led to an increase in equalization aid of $293,000. So by setting money aside and being and putting that money towards future building uses that we know will come due one day, we also decreased property taxes when we did that. So when we take a look at our last several years of equalization aid, you can see that our equalization aid increased from 19.5 million to 21.2. That's an 8.9% increase, or an additional $1.7 million. So we were able to project this within $3,000 of the amount that it actually came out to be. So when we look at the equalization aid of 21.2 million, we add in another $94,000 from state aid from exempt computers and exempt personal property, and total state support is $21.359 million. So we have step one calculated. Of our entire pot of revenue, that's how much state will support. So now when we go to our revenue limit, our 3-year average of students is 4,704 students. We multiply that by $9,700 per student. As we know, that $9,700 per student is different from all districts. We are the lowest in Waukesha County. That gives us a revenue limit of $45.628 million. Now to that, we are going to add some adjustments. We'll add $350,000 to that from question 2 of the April 2016 referendum. There were unpaid, uncollectible taxes from last year, which is a one-time adjustment of $8,018. And then we have approximately $250,000 between the Wisconsin Parental Choice Voucher Program and the Special Needs Scholarship Program. So when we add all those adjustments in, they total about $600,000, which means the total revenue limit that our school district can collect between state aid and property taxes is $46.2 million. Okay, so we go back to our equation. And from here, we see that we can levy $24.8 million and no more in property taxes for funds 10, 38, and 41. So what we'll do with that equalization aid, the $21.359 million, that will all go to the general operating fund, which is Fund 10. And then of the $24.8 million in property taxes, the school board has the authority to put that money into Fund 38, which is for short-term or non-referendum debt. Right now, the school district doesn't have any need for money there, so there's no need to put money into Fund 38. And then the district can also set aside money from there into Fund 41, which is for building projects. We have typically levied $1,069,220 into Fund 41. We've done that the last couple of years. We'll continue to set money aside so we don't have to go back out to referendum for roofs, for boilers, for building needs. we've done a good job in building up our fund balance in Fund 41 to tackle those projects without additional taxpayer help, which means the remaining $23.8 million would go to Fund 10. So on top of these, on top of the basic school tax levy here, there's a couple others tax levies that occur outside the revenue limit. Our voters gave us permission to do the project at McGuanago High School. So for 20-year repayment of that this year, we need $3.3 million to make that payment. We'll levy $130,000 for Community Fund 80, which is the community service fund that pays for our school resource officers. And we also have uncollected taxes in 2018-19 totaling about $8,000. When we add everything up here, the total tax levy is $28.336 million. Now this tax levy is $60,000 higher than the levy that was approved at the annual meeting. The cause for this is the increase in the Wisconsin Parental Choice Program. Those costs from last year to this year are $75,000 higher. So overall, our tax levy is still $22,000 less than last year. If we take a look at last year, we're at $28.359 million in 18-19. This year, we're slightly less than that. So the tax levy has gone down. Furthermore, when other school districts are doing the same very thing tonight. I don't know what the other mill rates will be in 1920. I'll need another week or so to hear back from other Waukesha County school districts. But when we look back at last year's mill rates, last year's was $7.95. This budget has a mill rate of $7.71. So our mill rate is decreasing. The amount of taxes on a $250,000 house will decrease by about $60 in our school district. I did check with Waukesha tonight. I checked with Darren Clark to see what their mill rate was, because between us and them typically is where the lowest mill rate is, and they're going to be at about $8, just north of $8. So we will have the lowest mill rate in the county. The budget here is condensed here. We have all of our funds listed here. At the bottom of the graphic there, we have $74.573 million in budgeted revenues and $79.5 million in budgeted expenditures. We have some funds that have more revenue, more expenditures coming out than revenues. You can see in Fund 49, our referendum, there's no money coming in, but we're going to expend the remaining $2.1 million and most of that has been spent already, but we have a few lingering projects at McGuanago High School. But you can see where some of those discrepancies are here. Another one's in Fund 73, our post-employment benefit fund. We are 100% actuarially funded, so we have $528,000 of revenues coming in, but over $1 million coming out, and that is on par with the timeline of our actuarial analysis. So we're looking, if there's any questions about the tax levy or the budget, I'd be happy to answer those right now. Sean, that was the shortest I've ever done that. I'd just like to point out.
Outstanding, and we really are very fortunate to have Tom on our staff. He does an outstanding job with the budget, and I know he reminds us of that frequently, but he does deserve it, as well the school board does. We have more students. We're educating more students again this year in the district, and yet we're asking for fewer tax dollars. So our history of fiscal responsibility continues.
All right, so can I have a motion to approve the 2019-2020 budget?
I'll make a motion to approve the budget as Tom presented.
Second it.
I have a motion and a second. Any other discussion or questions? Okay, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? And same for the tax levy.
I move.
Second.
I have a motion and a second. Any other discussion?
My only question is, Tom, can you expand on how you're going to figure out how to predict better the situation with the voucher?
Yeah, that's
Because you have a solution, I'm sure.
the immediate assumption that I will make going forward is that I will assume that those costs will rise between $75,000 and $100,000 a year. So I can, assuming that it will stay status quo and not grow is wrong. And I know I included an exhibit that was in the finance facilities packet that demonstrated what was happening in Kettle Moraine, Waukesha, here and in Muskego. And all four districts over the last 4 years have experienced significant growth in this cost. It's essentially an additional tax levy. So by law, when a Mugwanago area school resident attends a private school, those private schools don't have to report to who those students are. They don't even have to tell us how many they have. We don't find that out until October 15th every year. So it's guesswork until October 15th. So to do a better job budgeting, I'll just simply assume that we'll have another 75 to 100,000 in costs there. And if it comes in less than that, then just a lower tax levy then.
And I would ask that you remember this part of the budget when we have our legislators in February or March, when they come visit us, when it's time to start talking to them about the unfairness of the school voucher program and the fact that not only are tax dollars going to those schools, but those schools don't have to follow the same rules that we do, such as starting on September 1 or later.
Okay, I have a motion and a second. Any other question or discussion?
I just have is it possible that we could advocate for just knowing sooner, even if doesn't change the fact of what we have to pay, but that we would be able for budget purposes to receive those numbers earlier?
We could.
I mean, at least ask, because I mean, that would.
We could lobby for that.
Sure. Most of those schools simply, they won't even know. We take our counts on the third Friday of September.
It's only 3 weeks later.
So even in the best case scenario, we would know in early September. So you're still not finding out until you're just about ready to do your annual meeting and tonight's final budgeting and tax levy. So there's always just a small turnaround time. The timeline just doesn't lend itself to giving you a solid heads up. So we can certainly pursue that.
Anything else? Okay, all those in favor for the tax levy, say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? Okay, we will vote on the approval of the MHS Healthcare Academy proposal.
Motion to approve.
I have a motion. Second. Second, any other question or discussion? Okay.
I think it's a great program. Thank you for the presentation and best of luck.
Okay, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? Okay. Lastly, MASD School Board resolution regarding the Palmyra Eagle dissolution.
Yeah, so if you want to take a look at your packet on page 60, Tom has a memo about the PASD resolution. The resolution itself is on page 61 in your packet. And I have a few talking points that I think are important to review. And I know we've talked about this situation a number of times at the board level, so I'm going to do my best to make sure I do not repeat myself. But I do want to stress that this entire dissolution situation is not an MASD. It's not a Mugwanago Area School District initiative. This east-west consolidation, which is what we're calling our solution, is a plan that we'll present to the School District Boundary Appeals Board. It provides one possible solution if the Palmyra Eagle Area School District does dissolve. If the School District Boundary Appeals Board believes that the district PEASD should dissolve, again, this is just one possible solution, one that we think is the best, but it's not the only solution. We are not recommending, and I do want to make it clear to everyone, we are not recommending that the district dissolves. I cannot stress that enough. That's not our recommendation. We're responding to a Palmyra Eagle Area School District board resolution. They voted to dissolve. So now it's been put into our laps. And so again, we're offering one potential solution. If the School District Boundary Appeals Board, which will start to meet next week, if they decide to keep the district solvent, so be it. We're not going to fight that or argue that. So, what does the east-west consolidation plan look like? The School District Whitewater, which is voting on the same resolution tonight, they would take the western portion of the Palmyra area, Palmyra Eagle School District, Jefferson, Walworth County, and the Mugwanago Area School District would take the eastern portion, or the Waukesha County portion. That's the town and the village of Eagle. If you take a look at those two pieces, western half, eastern half, it's roughly a 50-50 split with property values. I do want to stress that this is a consolidation in name only. State law does not allow for 3 districts to consolidate. So we're not actually consolidating. This would still be a dissolution of the Palmyra Area School District. So at the same time, while we're proposing this possible solution if the district does dissolve, we are working with the state legislature to make sure that state law, current law, is changed to make sure that the financial impacts for receiving districts are more fair and equitable. As we've discussed in the past, under current dissolution law, the financial impact upon our district is not fair and equitable, and that needs to change. And it's not just our district, it's the same for any receiving district. And again, the school district, the dissolution process is governed by state law, and the School District Boundary Appeals Board will be making the decision. It's not us. If the Palmyra Eagle Area School District is dissolved, we believe that this is the best case scenario for our district and the majority of residents, students, and their families in the town and the village of Eagle. The more districts that are involved in a solution, the more difficult it becomes. That has become quite evident as we've met with a number of school districts that surround the Palmyra Area School District. The more districts involved in a solution, the more difficult it gets to divide the assets. And again, the assets are the 3 school buildings and the liabilities, the 12 million plus dollars of debt. In addition, we are the only district that's in the position to keep Eagle Elementary open. I'm confident if Kettle Moraine was here and if East Troy were here, they would say that under no possible scenario will they be able to keep Eagle Elementary open. We're the only district that can do that. We truly live our district's mission, students, staff, and community building better schools together. We have a strong history of not only fiscal responsibility, but also of community support. And we have a strong history of keeping small communities viable by keeping their elementary schools open. And Prairie View in North Prairie and Big Bend Elementary in Big Bend are fantastic examples of the district and the school board committing to building a partnership with various different communities. We want to take a look at a few maps very quickly. And the first map that we have, Tom, shows the Palmyra Eagle Area School District, and then the surrounding districts. And we've talked about this before, but Whitewater, East Troy, Mugwanago, Kettle Moraine, Oconomowoc, just a slice, Jefferson, and Fort Atkinson surround the Palmyra Eagle Area School District. And what you see on this map are current students living in the district that attend their schools. And we have the breakdown, and I think, Tom, you included that in the packet, right?
Sure. So this represents 606 residents of the Palmyra Eagle Area School District and where they live. Obviously, if there's 3 students in a household, you're only going to see 1 pink dot. This is denoting households and not head counts here. The red thumbtacks here that you see are our elementary schools. The yellow thumbtacks are the high schools in the surrounding districts, and the green thumbtacks are the junior highs or the middle schools. So it kind of gives you an idea as we take a look here as to where would these students go geographically speaking. That's a consideration. You just kind of see, what is the lay of the land.
And then, Tom, can you do me a favor and just point out where the Waukesha County, Jefferson County border is?
Sure.
And so you can see the split of students. And in the Palmyra Eagle School District, in the Waukesha County portion, the town and village of Eagle, there are currently 219 students attending their schools. So I'll repeat that again. So in the Waukesha County portion of the Palmyra Eagle School District that Tom's circling there are 219 students attending their schools. It's a good time to go to the next, and I do want to point out, if you take a look at where those students live in Waukesha County, please note how close they live to our elementary schools. Again, that's Eagleville, and then as you go north, Rolling Hills, Section, and Prairie View. And then obviously if you travel east on Highway NN, you run into the high school, middle school in Clarendon. But then if we take a look at the open enrollment, this map shows the number of open enrollment students leaving Palmyra Eagle. The K or green, those students go to Kettle Moraine. The red J is Jefferson, and then the blue E is East Troy. And then the next map will show you the Mugwanago Area School District. Kids coming from Palmyra Eagle attending our schools. It's important to note that is 255 students. And as a matter of fact, if you take a look at Waukesha County, the town and the village of Eagle, there are as many students attending our schools as there are attending their schools. Does anyone have a question about the maps?
I didn't notice any students that choiced into white.
Actually, there is another map that we had in your packet. One of the maps does show Whitewater. I think there are just 2 or 3.
There's a W.
Yeah, there's a purple W maybe, or something. I can't remember.
Yeah.
Or green. I'm sorry, green.
Green W, right, thank you.
There's 11 students that open enroll out to Fort Atkinson and to Jefferson, and then 2 to 3 more that also go to Whitewater. I don't know the causes for that, I guess. I don't know what Whitewater's capacity is, if they accept open enrollment or where that's at, so I can't really comment on why those numbers are that way, but.
So then what's next? Provided that you approve the resolution tonight, we have been informed, and I sent you an email that the School District Boundary Appeals Board, that 7-member board, has been created, and we'll start meeting next week. So next week, Thursday on the 7th, and I apologize about the email that I sent that said that those dates were Mondays, they're Thursdays, looking at October instead of November. But November 7 will be the first public hearing, and we believe that that will be for Palmyra Eagle Area School District residents. And then on the 14th, that will be an opportunity for the Palmyra Eagle staff, their teachers and staff members, to speak at a public hearing. And then on the 21st of November, that will be our opportunity to present information to the School District Boundary Appeals Board. Again, that will be Thursday, November 21st. Sorry. And we will have 30 minutes to present. So we'll have to be a little less long-winded.
Did you say where these are?
So if you take a look at your folder, we do have a memo in there that tells you where the presentations will be held, or where the meetings will be held. And so, again, we just got this information today. And actually, I have it out of too many papers. Thanks, Joel. So on the 7th, the meeting will be, looks like on the 7th, they'll be at the high school. On the 14th, they'll be at Eagle Elementary. On the 21st, we'll be back in the community center at the high school in Palmyra. The high school, middle school, remember, are in Palmyra. And then the following several Thursdays are reserved. Actually, I should say on the 5th, there is another opportunity for people to speak in a public hearing. That will be at the Palmyra Eagle High School. But then after that, the next several Thursdays are set aside for the committee to deliberate and make a decision. And as we know, they have to make a decision by January 15. So I know we've talked about this a number of times. As I said, Whitewater is voting on the resolution tonight. We're looking for approval for that resolution from you tonight. And that's one thing that the legislators that we've been talking to are looking for, a commitment from both districts so they can go to leadership in the Assembly and the Senate to start working on legislation.
I would like to make a motion.
Second.
A motion, a second. Any other questions or discussion? Great. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? Okay. Motion carries.
Thank you.
So we're moving on to unfinished business. We have superintendent report.
Yeah, we're just looking for some direction from the board. So this is the first year that we've had one of our 4-year-old kindergarten programs within an elementary school. As you know, we lost our community partner, St. Paul's in Genesee, when they closed their school and the northwest corner of the district. So we moved our 4K program into Prairie View Elementary. It's been going extremely well. We have a section in the morning and in the afternoon, and some of the parents are asking about next year. And so we have some 4K people here tonight. I think Sue Perkins, is she still here? And Stephanie? Yep. So they're here to answer any questions that we might have about the 4K program at Prairie View. But we approved it last spring for 1 year only. We said we'd bring it back in the fall. And so we're wondering how you want to proceed.
Let's do it again.
Stephanie, how many students total do we have?
40, 20 in the morning and 20 in the afternoon.
And the start time is staggered?
It is, so school starts at 8:30 at Prairie View, but we start at 9 o'clock in our 4K program to alleviate some of the issues with transportation in the parking lot. And then they are done at 3 o'clock.
Does anybody have any questions for Stephanie? I don't think so, no.
So the discussion last spring was, could we find another community partner in the northwest portion of the district? And I don't have a lot of hopes for that. If someone knows of a possible community partner, we will be happy to talk to them. But we did talk to a number of people last spring, and we had no luck. So, as you know, Stephanie was the principal at Prairie View for 3 years, and she's very familiar with that portion of the district, and we just don't have a lot of hopes for a community partner there.
From a facilities accommodation, it's working out?
It is. Mm-hmm.
Yep. Out of curiosity, how many of those kids will go to Prairie View next?
I don't know that number off the top of my head. Over half of them, I'm going to say from looking at the list, but I don't know an exact number.
We can bring that back for you, though, if you're interested.
And is that because they're not within Prairie View's boundary line?
Right, not all of the 4K students that are attending Prairie View Elementary for 4K live within the Prairie View enrollment. They might live in the section or Rolling Hills enrollment area. We have 4 schools on the western portion of our district, and so it's really not a far drive for a parent to take their son or daughter to Prairie View, just up the road from the section or Rolling Hills enrollment area. And some are open enrolled also from Palmyra Eagle.
Okay. So what do we think? Give them a go ahead for another year?
Yes.
Yeah?
Yes.
All right.
Not having any issues with
Sounds
it.
unanimous.
Okay, that's the direction we were looking for from you. Thank you for that.
Did you have anything with any of these?
So in your folder, there is an article from the Freeman that talks about the east-west consolidation. And then there's also a letter, if you want to go down to correspondence real quick, if it's okay. There's a letter from, actually an email from Pam Harris. We had part of it in the packet, but this is the second part that talks about Shore West Realtors and the money that they raised for our Angel Fund. There's been a lot of talk in the news about some districts across the country that don't feed students who have a deficit in their lunch account. And I want to stress that that's not our practice. And we've been very fortunate that Shore West Realtors and other community members such as Brook Life Church have donated money to the district to pay off lunch balances. And so all of our kids who want to eat lunch are getting lunch. So, thanks to Shore West Realtors.
Is that it?
I think that's it, all I had.
Okay, just for board president report, actually Sean and I were going to go through the policies and start dividing them up to committee and assign them, and probably get into the rhythm of 2 to 3 policies per meeting. And it might take a year and a half to get, or a year to get through them all. But we'll probably start that January, or should we start the next month? We have a lot going on right now, so I didn't know if we wanted to.
We do have a lot going on. December is a tough month because the schedule is abbreviated because we only have 3 Mondays before Christmas. So I would say January might be a good time to start, but if the committees have time in November, we can certainly bring a few policies. Some will be real simple. When we take a look at the bylaws, for example, the Personnel Committee might look at the bylaws and the board procedures. That might not take as long as some of the student programming, for example.
So we will start getting into that. If you look at your packet, one of the other things, we have quite a bit of, we have the Student Learning Committee update, the Personnel Committee update, the Finance Facilities, and all of the information has been reprinted and given to us again. So starting next month, it will not be reprinted and given it to us in this packet. We need to start bringing our committee packets with us rather than having them redo it every single month. And then outside of that, something for us to consider is possibly going digitally. There is a software called Board Docs that other districts use for their agendas. Ironically enough, I was looking up a policy on our website, and all of our policies are on our website using Board Docs. So it could be an easy switch over if anyone is interested, or you guys can give me your feedback either independently if you want. If you wanted them hard copy, you'd have to print them and bring them yourself. Otherwise, we can potentially have, Laura looks really excited at this discussion. So if you have any problems with that, let me know.
I know in the past you could have either way, so maybe if there's a preference divided.
So what's cool about Board Docs is I did kind of scan some of them. You can click through the agenda points, and when you click through a point, the memos come up, and within the memo, it has links to all of the information that you need. So it'd be very accessible. But just throwing that out there for something potentially when we get a little less busy to transfer over. If you have any concerns about it, let me know. Are there any other board member questions tonight? No. And are we still going into executive session?
Yes, we are.
We are. So I need a motion to go into executive session. Second. Okay, and then roll call out, please, Chair.
It will be brief.